we're going to talk about specific ways you can use the video you create for social to get press. Like, we're going to get really matter of fact about it. And the first thing we're going to do is talk about social video as proof that you are both an expert and that you can show up on camera. Because here's the jam. Like, if you book a TV segment, large regional, like Chicago, New York, Tennessee, Nashville, whatever, all these places, somewhere in North Carolina, like any big city, they're going to be like, well, have you done press before? Have you done a segment? This happens all the time to my people. And if you haven't, you're going to somehow have to produce proof that you can show up on camera, and also that they can trust that you're an expert. So can you speak to that with me? Because I know we've talked about this a lot, but I want people to hear it from you as a producer who ran emails and got them. How can we use social video to land us that press this way?
So I was an Inside Edition producer for 4 years, a cable news producer for 5 years. So I booked thousands of people, and my head is on the chopping block if I book someone who says they have experience and they don't. Just like any other job, if you fake it till you make it in TV, you're in so much trouble. You don't want to end up in the principal's office as a TV producer. So I really would have to say, can you please send me some videos of past interview appearances you had? If that person maybe hadn't been like on a TV interview, but maybe they hosted their own web series, or maybe they were a podcast host, this is a person that's used to talking at least, right? And so then they're like getting over a small hurdle, but you really want footage of you on camera, your energy, your cadence, how you deliver information, and what you cover. And that really helps the person book you, because honestly, their ass is on the line. So you have to have that. And the other thing is, we are lucky. I like to remind people that we are actually lucky, because it used to be a really high cost, a very high barrier to entry. You would have to spend like $3,000 to $5,000 on a sizzle reel. I've made these. I've spent it to get clips of yourself filmed and to showcase what you're like on camera. It used to be so expensive. And we have two great questions. So one is from Nicole. I am Nicole Gabrielle. She says, are professional reels, sizzle reels, a better payoff? I love that question.
I think if you're like a TV personality, you want that. But if it's like a situation like Kim, when a producer's saying, show me proof of you on camera, show me, if you haven't done TV, you can be like, here are some of my top, videos I want to share.
Yeah. And I think that like an Instagram reel, again, you have to be talking in it. It cannot be one where you're dancing. That doesn't show a producer how you're going to be on camera. But a video, it could be a YouTube video where you're explaining something. You could do sample videos like that and populate them on YouTube. If you're looking to be an expert, get on camera for local press. I think the Instagram video is good.
And even national, let me tell you a true story. Shannon Monson is an amazing Instagram personality and teacher. And she was like an online celebrity. She's also a private client of mine. And we wanted to get her press, but she had never done news. So what I had to do was go into her social media and find not the ones when she gave sick, amazing content, but was just pointing and dancing. No, that doesn't tell you anything. And it looks like, oh, one more influencer. But what I found was reels where she was laying out solid gold information. And she wasn't even fancy. Like, she looked sweatpants, but she looked so like, I was like, oh, I love her advice. I can see that she can hit talking points and sound bites, which you can really demonstrate. And we booked her Good Morning America through her Instagram videos alone. So it totally can work for national as well.
And I think it really reminds you, what I advise when I work with clients is that content mix. So I would say, before you're even pitching press, when you're thinking about what kind of content to put on your feed, it shouldn't all be dancing anyway, because sometimes people want to get to know you. If you're a coach, like I went to someone's page, they were a health coach or something recently, and the first 7 videos, it wasn't their voice, and it was just them dancing. I don't feel more connected to them. And I do want to know someone's personality, especially if they're a coach. So I think when you're thinking about what content mix, what videos to put on your feed, it should be the type of content that some work for press because some are here from you. And you're educating people so that they know why to work with you and they understand your energy.
But I agree. Even I want all of you to look at what you pinned to the top of your Instagram, because sometimes we want to pin and show off the numbers that show like it's a highly viewed reel, but those are often trending sound reels, and that's why you got those views. But what you really want to pin, like if you go to my pinning plate, my profile page, whatever, it is not me being the trendiest, it's me sharing content or like client wins or student wins and things like that, because I want people to know that I can teach them stuff. So it's showing education. And I wrote something down, and I didn't want to forget to tell you all, but like, easy ways to begin that are simple things like help people prevent mistakes, right? Like 5 mistakes homeowners make that are costing them money, or like, you know, the secret to healthy, you know, body that every nutritionist knows, like things like that, where you can rattle off some easy tips, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and the biggest, you know, for people who aren't doing a lot of video, or even if you are, this is a great one. The biggest things people ask you, just write down questions people are asking you. And when you're seeing you're getting a lot of those same questions, that's what you should make a video on. It'll be easier for you to talk about it because you've answered it so many times. And it'll showcase people, what is your area of expertise? The point of thinking of everything as a headline. And that doesn't matter if you're on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. You have to think of everything as a headline. We're in the sort of attention-starved economy. So you have 2 seconds to attract someone's attention. And that doesn't matter what platform you're on. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. You still have only 2 seconds. So I love your tip, Sabina, of like top 5 questions I get asked as a jewelry designer. Top 5 wellness, or like top 3 things you shouldn't do for wellness. Like,
oh my gosh, like 4 things you should never do if, and then fill it in for your industry. Like those things are, it's like, and you know what I do? I'm sure you do this too. I cruise for headlines and subject lines all the time when I'm reading the news. And I also mean sometimes the news, because sometimes the news, like the Mail Online, is maybe news-ish, but their headlines are so good. I'm like, clickety-click. BuzzFeed, so you can see Today Show, todayshow.com. Look at how they're writing headlines. They're masterful at that, and borrow some of that information, like that vibe.
It depends on how old you are, but like BuzzFeed was super hot maybe like 7 years ago, and their headlines were all clickbait and listicles. But you know what? Everyone clicked. So you have to think about that clickiness. Like, what would make you click? Would it be like, as a jewelry designer, ... or would it be 5 mistakes, or like 5 things never to buy in your jewelry, whatever. So you just think about the framing of it and what would make you click as a consumer. Like, I have a framework for making video that I advise my clients, and they're across all industries. But one of them is, when you're making videos, you're a journalist. Your job is to make most of your content serve your audience and make them be like, that was so educational. That was so funny. Oh, I feel like I know her more. And only a tiny % should be like, buy this, it's a discount. Buy this, it's Christmas. And so when you're thinking about like how you consume information, it takes work. Like, I've been doing this for 16 years. Not every headline of mine is so good.
Oh my gosh,
you know?
Sometimes I look at my subject lines on emails, and Alex, who works with me, will be like, what is that subject? Because we think it's right in our own head, but it takes practice. But the more you're also like aware, I always say, because I'm a nerdy former teacher, like if you're in that ecosystem of reading press, consuming content, looking online, you will start seeing snappy ways people are, like, you reframe something, it can go from nobody wants to hear about it to, wow, she or he is an expert.
Great example. I recently contributed to Fast Company magazine. So that was a big win for me because I host a podcast. I met the Fast Company editor through the podcast. We mutually interviewed each other. I pitched her 5 headlines. Like, it wasn't a yes that she was yes to me writing for Fast Company. I thought of every headline. Like, my first one was, where did the quiet quitters and great resigners go? It really was more of a think piece. I didn't have like, I mean, I did have like, this is the 3 places I think they went, but I really was thinking as a headline. And then the second one I had was, laid off, here's your blueprint to starting your own business. And they both performed well. The first one was featured on their Instagram. They both were top 10 in the thing. And I'm not saying my writing is that great. Maybe it's not, but it really is the headline.
And we do a lot of them, like, say this, not that, or do this, not that. I've had a financial expert do it. Do this, not that, if you want to get out of debt. Say this, not that in your next meeting. Those kind of play on words. So again, knowing what works will change everything. Now, I want to just switch gears for a second because I wanted to pop to another way. I want you all to hear another way that social media is going to get you press. And that is using it for B-roll. So first of all, Kim, can you explain what B-roll is? And then we're going to talk about how you can make your own B-roll, like with social video and things like that. And also probably just a little bit at home. I know it's a little leap, but I feel like you can give us a couple pointers because we need to have B-roll if we want to get press. Let me give you one last thing, you guys. Like, as somebody who books press all day long with members of Press for Success or my own private clients, we are asked for B-roll constantly, and we are always saying to people, you have to have it before you get pressed. So give us a little breakdown on that.
Sure. So because we're in the age of social media, our understanding of how stories are told have changed a lot. But if you, here's an assignment. If you want to understand the use of B-roll, watch a traditional TV show like a Today Show, a Good Morning America, 60 Minutes, anything like that. There's someone talking and then they're showing footage of that person. So if I'm talking about being a mom of 2 kids, you're going to see me holding their hands, walking them to school, me packing their lunches with them, talking to me, things that show what I'm saying. So it's show, don't tell. Okay.
So it's less boring. Like no one wants to stare at, as gorgeous as we are, no one wants to see our faces for 3 to 5 minutes.
So I would say, remember that on social media, you won't see as much B-roll because you're only having a 15-second or 30-second or 45-second video, and just the bar is lower. But for TV, you need that. So when you are pitching yourself and you know you're going to be on, let's say you're a jewelry owner like Anna, or you have a soap company, or you're a health and wellness coach, you always want to make sure you have some footage of what you're going to talk about. So if you're a jewelry maker, I want you in your studio making, not sped up footage, regular footage, well lit, even film it for long enough, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. You're just doing different things around the studio. Maybe someone can film you out on the street in the streets of Dallas or wherever you live, shopping for beads. If you're a parent or a dog owner and that's a part of your life and a part of your story, the B-roll can be filmed with an iPhone. The iPhone resolution is so good nowadays.
Horizontal, look at us nerds. And then HD4 is how I have mine, like the HD4 setup. Like everything we're saying is straight up from your phone, no fanciness required. But yeah, so like I was saying, every part of your business journey should be captured almost.
To that point, I would Google how to make my iPhone settings high quality. That's important both for social media, but also for footage you're shooting for yourself. Make it high quality. Always film it this way. And this is a tip, actually, if you're trying to batch content, like let's say you're trying to shoot an hour or 2 hours worth of content, you want to put it on YouTube, horizontal, and you want to put it on Instagram, vertical. What you want to film is you want to make sure it fills, like right now, you would be filming this way. And then you want to have an understanding that a third of the screen will only be used for Instagram. So when you're filming it, you just keep that in mind. Again, Google it, how to film for YouTube and Instagram, or how to film horizontal and vertical safe. So those are just a couple of tips in terms of like getting I'm a big time efficiency person, like nobody has time. So when you film once and then use it more ways. So B-roll, film yourself doing whatever it is that you're talking about, anything as a part of your life. So for example, I recently was interviewed by New York Pix 11, and we sent in, we arranged Aliza Friedlander, who's a great publicist. We sent in photos of me and the kids, and they ran, and my kids were so excited to see them. And the photos are like, just me and the kids, like walking, we're wearing.
And you can use those. I want to piggyback on that. So you should all be thinking right now, and this even feels, if you feel like publicity is years away or months away or weeks away, you need to start creating that B-roll library, like Kim is saying. And it made me think of, there's a show here called 207 Main. And I shot that during the pandemic, a story about women finding each other in a virtual world. And because when I moved here, I'm like, how am I going to make friends? Everything's just no way for moms to meet. And we talked about how we connected on Instagram. Anyways, to fill that B-roll out, my husband filmed me working at the desk, and you just let go at the time she was 2 of a 2-year-old. She'll climb right over you while you're trying to work. That's just natural. So Alex started filming that from different angles and things. So we used that on 207. Then I used it for Entrepreneur. Then I used it for something else. So you can reuse these pieces of B-roll. Another thing I want you to speak to, speaking of B-roll, is all of us at some point work from our desk, right? Whether you're a jewelry designer invoicing a client, whether you're an online educator, whether you're a tech entrepreneur, whatever it is. I really believe every founder needs some desk footage of them like working at their computer, shot from different angles and things like that. So again, I feel like what Kim and I are probably saying is like, get yourself, whatever you do for a living, get footage of that, packaging things if you're a product maker, whatever. And then also, do you think there can also be some like lifestyle stuff? Like I don't just work and speak and teach. I'm also out with my kid, or I am walking down the street with my dog. What are your thoughts on that too?
Absolutely. I think for some of the stories, it's going to get used. And other times it's not going to get used. But like, what's the worst that happened? You spent 5 minutes filming yourself doing stuff, because you can still use it for social media. I definitely think, though, in general, the story is about like us being multifaceted people. You switch from this job to that job. You're a mom juggling this job and that. I think that those stories are interesting to people. It shows that you're more dimensional. And so when you have that, it doesn't have to be more than 1 or 2 clips. If you're talking about your jewelry, it's mostly going to be your jewelry or your shoe company or your wellness company. But some of the other stuff, for sure, anything that informs it. If your jewelry is from India and you're Indian and you go to India every summer, you should film yourself in India getting the stones. So that is related directly to the story. The footage of you with your family or your dog that is nice to have and might be a part of the story, I would put that lower on the priority list.
Also, I want to point out, it's not just for TV anymore. So places like parents.com, I mean, anyone.com include video footage in their content now because we all consume content online now. So it's not just the local news, national news who are telling your story.
Something important to remember is this B-roll that you're saving it in your phone in an album, whatever you use, Google, Apple, doesn't matter. That footage also can be used for B-roll for pitching press. It also can be for reels. So you see those videos where maybe it's the jewelry maker making the jewelry and then text on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the struggles, the what goes into making it, your own personal story. So I think it's important to remember that not only should you be shooting B-roll for these press moments, but that can do double duty. And that's the sort of thing, like I work with my clients a lot because we are all so time starved. So how do you do more with less? And so, like I mentioned before, I'm doing a video boot camp starting in 1 week. And a lot of what we talk about is staying on message, finding clients, finding your ideal clients with that messaging, but also making that content do more for you.
Yeah.
So that B-roll that you're shooting for the press, you're not just leaving it in a folder called press. You're using it for your Instagram reels. You're using it for your YouTube content.
That's a great question. I want to like scream this from the rooftops. Like, get it? Like, it is like, is it okay to give away content and tips and expertise if I'm trying to sell that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, all I do is talk free PR. I would speak the gospel of PR to a chair if it didn't move. Like, and that is why people know what my authority is. And they know like the special sauce I give to my expertise. Because a lot of people teach PR. Surprise, I'm not the only one, but don't go looking. You need to show up with your tips and your advice so I can see who you are. Do I want to choose you as my flavor of ice cream as an expert? And are you really an authority, right, Kim?
100. You see, I'm like chomping at the bit. I'm like, pick me, call on me. 1,000%. So I have to, so much of like my mantra and how I see video is we're not making videos to be influencers. We're making videos to get clients. The bar for someone to make that discovery call, to pay you money to hire you is high. You have to warm them up so much with that video, and you have to show them that you're knowledgeable. You have to show them that you're likable. You have to show them that you want them to win. So when you're giving out those free tips, you're giving free tips because you're teaching them, but then you're nurturing them along the way through your social videos. You're connecting with them in the DMs. You're following them on social. And I think that it's always give away your knowledge for free, because when someone's hiring you, they're not hiring you to regurgitate the information you said on an Instagram Live. They're hiring you to solve their problems. And even in a group course, that's like not, that's like a bigger course. It's still personalized attention. It's still for just help you work versus a panel or a seminar. So I would say, Allison, all day, every day, I see people, I help my clients go from professional to thought leader. And you have to do that. To do that, you have to share your point of view.
I wanted to talk about something that I know everyone wants to ask, but maybe doesn't want to say, is showing up on video is also just intimidating and it makes me nervous, right? I remember back in the day when IG stories first began. Remember when stories became a thing? But if anyone walked by you and you were telling a story, you'd be like, oh, I'm not doing it. Like, I don't want anyone to see me. Even my own husband, I'd be like casually in the doorway, even though I'd been recording because I felt like an ass. But then I got over it, and now I'll be walking down the street, talking to myself. People will honk. I don't even care. So how do we baby step our way into video conference? Because I can tell you, I heard YouTube's going to be huge again. I feel like everything video is exploding. We can't sit with our head in the sand. So how do you work up the courage?
So I will preface this with, I do on-camera media training. So I train CEOs, regular people, a congressperson. In the past, I was a TV news producer preparing hundreds of people to go on TV. What I find now that I do a lot of one-on-one client work is the things that hold us back are imposter syndrome. We don't feel like an expert. What are we going to say? We're not really have our message that tight. We're afraid people are going to judge us and think we're losers, or people are going to troll us. And I am here to tell you, I wish I was trolled. That would mean I have so many followers. No, I think number one, people are not thinking about us that closely. People are writing their lunch order. They are packing their kids' lunches. They are not thinking about you that much. And this phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe. Once you start putting your message out there, you will start seeing the people who want your message will start coming. But I think you'll start seeing when you make your content more business focused, you'll start seeing ideal clients coming into you because you're putting out there what you really are.
Yes.
Who you really are in the professional world. And I think to the point of like just being confident and feeling confident, I have a whole tip sheet of how to be good on camera. A little bit of it is preparation. Once you really know your message, that's going to help you. You're going to feel more confident. You have to practice a lot. I mean, practice makes progress. And I think it's really important to understand that you're going to be bad the first few times. You're going to be bad the first 10 times, 20 times. Yeah. Start showing up on stories, start recording yourself. Even if you're not posting it, start doing it so you're more comfortable talking to a blank camera. Over time, it'll get easier. And I promise you, I have this with all of mine. I'm working with a lot of real estate agents, some lawyers, some coaches. Everyone who's showing up on video is getting more engagement. They're seeing people respond. They're seeing people enjoying being brought into their lives, even when you think your life's not that interesting. This weekend, I went to California. My daughter begged us to take home this huge stuffed elephant from this baby shower. And I was like, that's decor. I don't think it's for you. My sister-in-law's like, if she wants it. I'm like, how am I going to fit it on the plane? Anyway, I did an Instagram story and I was like, hey guys, I'm storytelling. I'm going to show you how to storytell for my new video boot camp. In the meantime, here's my story. My daughter wants to bring this elephant on the plane. Do you think it'll fit? Yes, no. Vote in the poll. I had like 10% of the people who saw that story responded and engaged. That's amazing. That's a great percent. So I think once you start showing up more and seeing who's there, it really, really works. And then a couple of the other tips is there are things like, remember who you are. If you're having that imposter syndrome, read your resume, read your old reviews from your bosses, ask your family members. You're awesome. You're putting yourself out there. You're doing it for your business. And if you're worried about how people are going to judge you, those people probably aren't running their own business. Those people
exactly. It's not the people like in the arena, like Roosevelt says, like getting dirty. It's the people watching who have an opinion. And I will say it's funny, when I started putting myself out there, I still remember to this day, I got this comment on like a video blog post, and this comment from some user or some commenter was like, I know who you're trying to be and you'll never be her. And I was like, oh, I was like, Alex, I'm not an expert, even though I've been doing PR forever and teaching for all this stuff. And I literally froze on content creation for a week, made my husband, who was a reporter at the time, like track who it was using his reporter data. I'm like, I need to know, find their address, get this thing. I want to know who hates me so much. Long story short, it was a high school student from like a nearby school who like somehow found my post and so on Facebook. And I literally had a 16-year-old who was like, I know you're trying to be, you'll never be here. Get to me. And it reminded me of like, the only people that matter are me and the people I'm trying to serve and impact, right?
Get out of supermodel mode. Like, how my look, how is everyone's looking at me, everyone's focusing on me, to teacher mode. Once you're in the mindset of you're there to teach, who cares if someone, like I've gotten some rude comments. I'm like, you know what? It's easier to hate on someone else's video than to make your own. And so I think more you put out there, you're going to end up growing such an amazing, beautiful tribe of supporters. That's more going to happen. But generally, putting yourself out there is going to outweigh the risks, because if you don't, your business is going to suffer. The truth is, you have to put yourself out there to grow your business. And I was so sensitive. I'm like, oh, I was like an executive producer and like I have my own business. Everyone thinks I'm unemployed and they're all going to judge me. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't think they're thinking that. And if they are, it doesn't matter. Like it actually doesn't
again,
matter.
It goes back to what we said in the beginning, like showing up, being who you are. One thing that's helped me, because I am a person who thinks a lot, or has in the past thought a lot about like, what do they think about me? I know all the things. Especially when your business is serving people and advising and you get sort of in your head, I now make a very conscious effort to surround myself with people like Kim and Patrice and my other peeps who are creating content and educating. And it makes me feel like in the space of everyone, right? And less alone and all that good stuff. So, and it encouraged me because we all are in the same boat. And as someone who works with like so many small business owners and amazing founders, I know that none of it is unique. Like your feelings, all of this is the same for everyone. So then you choose, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to simmer in that space of feeling not enough with everybody not doing anything? Or am I going to start baby stepping? Like for me, stories were a baby step to reels, because I could record a story and then I can turn it into a reel without the pressure that somehow comes from being in the Reels app when you're like, oh my God, I have to be on camera perfect. but when you do it in little chunks. So I found ways to baby step myself into video. And then as you get that feedback, and it isn't for me the number of views, it's the engagement that comes from showing up on video, showing people my authority. I don't care how many people watch, because I'm not trying to be an influencer getting a deal with some pink tea or something. I am trying to show people what I'm passionate about.
I loved what you were just saying about, I think it takes a lot of work to acknowledge, like, some of us are pleasers. And it took me a while to realize, like, why do I care? Honestly, so I host this podcast called Mom's Exit Interview, and it has 101 reviews, and like most of them are 5-star. One person wrote a 3-star review, and I was like, who cares? Why do I care? But that's the truth. That's how we feel. It's in ourselves. But through the podcast and through the process of going from corporate, quitting corporate, to running my own business, and realizing a lot of the things that maybe do service in certain parts of our life, like pleasing and making people like us and making people think we're nice, is not helpful in other ways. And I think if you're a pleaser, or if you have that tendency to be sensitive when other people might not like you, it takes some work to quiet that voice. And that's okay. That's okay. So I think that it's important to say, okay, that one little note bothered me, and then handle it, sit with it, and then like set it aside and move on, because there's 1,000 other people who are psyched to hear what you have to say.